Next, there he is, Charles Glorioso, aka the new Joe. Um, Charles, you have the stage. Boy, do you look big.
Thank you very much, Joe. I think that would be a poor man's show at best, but I absolutely appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. Listen, I really appreciate having this opportunity to present my pitch today. I've had a very long, privileged experience working with Team Kids. Just to give some background on myself, again, my name is Charles Glorioso. I work with the Macquarie Group. Macquarie is a Sydney, Australian based financial global institution. We have a large presence here in the US. But again, really my story is about the relationship and partnership we've had between Macquarie and Team Kids. And I've been on the board of directors of Team Kids for 5 years. And some of the more recent, really fantastic events would be sponsoring the Team Kids golf charity event that we've had at Monarch Beach the last few years, as well as just last week, we brought all of our kids, speaking of kids, back to the office, and we had our bring your kids to work day, which was fantastic. And Team Kids came there. They put on sort of what is usually a 5-week challenge program. They did that in about 3 hours, and the feedback was absolutely tremendous. So let me get into really the purpose of what we're here for today, which is to talk about our pitch. And it's been fantastic hearing the previous pitches so far. What I'm going to call this one is the Giannis Challenge. The Giannis Challenge, if you know Giannis, the superstar player from the Milwaukee Bucks, just this past week, they lost a tough first round series to the Miami Heat. They were big favorites. Number one, they had the best record in the NBA. And when the reporter asked a very fair question of Giannis, and he asked, do you view this season as a failure because you were number one, expected to go deep into the playoffs, if not win another championship? Giannis sort of shocked the world. And if you've seen the backstory, the movie Risen, which is I think it's on Disney, fantastic, also fantastic for kids. I watched it with my two boys, which you might be able to see them right there. It was an amazing response that he had to that question. He said, he kind of stood back and said, absolutely not. Failure, losing a series, losing a game, that's not failure. Failure is simply a step to success. That really struck a chord with me as someone that takes a lot of pride in being closely involved in my children's lives, including being coaches on many of their teams. I've faced that struggle of how to teach youngsters, and mine are 7 and 10 years old, how to teach them and build them up, how to teach them certain resilience and coping skills. So at some point, they don't have to listen to dad anymore. They don't have to listen to anyone anymore. They can be self-reliant and more resilient to be able to tackle those issues as they come along. So going from that, I was thinking about the pressures that we're seeing in society, things, schools, sports that are putting on kids these days. And the focus seems to be much more on competition rather than development of basic and then more advanced skills. We're ignoring, from my perspective, what we know from countless studies about the ability of kids to cope and be resilient. Those things vary a lot by age, and they must be developed. The human brain itself, we know at age 10, it's capable of doing certain things, and it's capable of doing much more at age 20. But yet, and in many of the experiences I've had, we tend to want to treat 7 and 10-year-olds as if they're 25-year-olds and they have the ability to cope with complex dynamic issues, which is not the case. We see this all the time, and I know Joe can appreciate this and others. Kids are being pushed into very expensive travel sports programs from the ages of 6 and 7. And we're seeing this is at the expense of the local community, town ball leagues, and all these other things that all of us grew up in. And we learned so many incredible, important values as kids. Then we run into COVID. COVID made things so much worse. You have kids and technology. Technology is fantastic and used for many good things, but it created this instant gratification. And out of nowhere, kids and technology and gratification, that became sort of one and the same. I remember as kids, we would sort of get 4 quarters, go play in the arcade, and we tried to stretch that out as long as humanly possible. And when we lost, we'd sort of go back to mom and dad, beg for more quarters, and inevitably we get shot down, which is what our parents did. That's fine. God bless the baby boomers. But the reality is then we moved on. Today, kids they get on their iPads, they're playing Roblox, Minecraft, they have unlimited lives. Yet I'm sure we've all had many experiences where you could hear them screeching on their iPads after every loss as if it's game 7 of the World Series. Many kids are being taught to see failure and success moment to moment, pitch to pitch, shot to shot. If you're lucky, it's game to game. And the challenge that we see that is that's often happening in a very loud environment. It's coaches yelling, it's parents yelling. It's something that, again, I think if we go back sort of 20, 30 years ago, it's just the dynamic has completely changed. And that yelling, that noise has had an extraordinary deflating, disempowering effect rather than learning from the tough at bat or the missed shot or a lost game. The kids are getting very down on themselves. It obviously then negatively impacts the next shot, the next at bat, the next game. So rather than developing those coping skills to become more resilient, many kids, and I'm sure you've seen this yourself, and listen, I'm guilty as a coach and as a father, lots of times kids are looking over to you for real-time confirmation that their performance is okay, rather than just getting right back up and taking their next best swing. So the message that they're getting is that failure and success is measured in seconds as a destination rather than a journey. So my pitch for action with that backdrop is the coach's pledge. I want to get the message out so that every coach, and sort of have to start somewhere, every coach of kindergarten, perhaps through 8th grade teams, they're going to teach kids the Giannis challenge, that every failure is simply a step to success. Competition, wanting to win, completely healthy, but developing as an individual and team is much more important and will lead to better performance and eventually better results. Being able to accept and learn from losing, those coping skills, is critical to learning how to win in all walks of life. How do we push this message? We leverage athletes, actors, push the message on social media, other forums. We've seen it before, and it can certainly work. You know, we had the bucket challenge, right? Not too long ago, where you had thousands of celebrities going on doing the bucket challenge. Leverage sporting companies like Nike to push the message through advertising. Obviously, we saw how profoundly impactful Just Do It was. Let's also show the misses, not just the highlights. Leverage schools and communities to push the message by making the coach's pledge an agreed code in all leagues. We all go through rules. Whenever I go and I'm coaching a team, they always have a pretty ridiculous 10 pages of rules we have to follow. And that's great. Rules are important, but that should be part of it. The coach's pledge should absolutely be a part of all of it. And then last, but certainly not least, leverage Joe Burke to put empowering kids messaging on all alley balls. Thank you.
Done.